Wiijindamaan, the basic idea of that word is that we gather together. It's been expressed as we come together to remember, but it's also expressed as we come together to remember and to do something together. And this is a project which we've been working on actually for a couple of years now. There's a few of us that have been working on trying to access this land in partnership with the City of Kitchener and also in partnership with Conestoga College in order to create a place of learning for Indigenous people around what it means to be involved in land-based work.
So anytime I see projects like this on large pieces of land, I always remember that it's really not land that was given to us in any way except for by the Creator. It goes beyond, I guess, an educational ecological project. It's more of a relationship with the earth and our mother and the respect that everything is that's on here, we need to be very, very clear about.
Land-based learning is gaining the understanding yourself of to live synergistically with the land and with the animals. It's not, land-based learning is more like the interconnectivity of everything and understanding it further. It's a gift to be out here on the land.
Called this land Wiijindamaan with the idea that this would be in some ways a classroom for us as Indigenous people, but also for students at Conestoga to be involved with in a number of different ways. One was growing food, some agricultural practices. Another part of this was doing restoration work.
I think that the land management is something that we can all learn from Indigenous practices. I think that environmental stewardship and making sure that lands are preserved and utilized, especially if it's for food and medicine production, I think that that's just a really great thing.
And land-based education has the idea that the land teaches us. So when we do land-based education, it's facilitated maybe by teachers or human connection in some way. An elder facilitates the land to teach us. But it's that awareness that the land has the ability to pass on knowledge and to inform us of how we should live our lives in a good way when we're in proper relationship with the land.
What we do by bringing students is to allow them to open up that thought of the land is important.
I'm ecstatic, I'm overjoyed because this is stuff I didn't get to grow up with, and these are teachings I didn't get as a kid. So to be able to, learn it now while I still can is just been, it's like my dream.
I think this is a really good thing to bring students in, to get on the land. That's really, really important, is to bring people onto the land. Like people who are raised in the city don't get a chance to get out on the land, don't understand it, no one to teach them. This is, to me, is a really, really good thing.
With the way the climate is changing, the rising costs of food, housing, it's now more important than ever that we have people coming out on the land and being able to learn from it and being able to study it, because it is lost knowledge that we need to get back.
Climate change, regardless. That's over there happening, and it's happening, right? Regardless. But you're going to watch your environment and you're going to know if it's affected because you're observing it, right? And you're watching it. And that's what I think is important too, is that continuous visiting. People say, oh, love Mother Earth, and yet they never go and visit her, right? How do you, like little kids, how do you teach kids to love Mother Earth unless that you take them to visit her, right?
My dad used to say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so when Europeans came here, we had a perfectly running environment. They tried to fix it. We're still trying to fix it.
Right now, Western science almost has a huge leg up, especially in terms of what is valued as knowledge, what is seen as knowledge. So I do think that there's also an opportunity for Western science to take a bit of a back seat and to be guided and to not only listen to and to hear what Indigenous sciences and Indigenous knowledges are saying, but to prioritize those knowledges as essential for the well-being of the land.
Non-Indigenous people are invited by the land to come and learn. The big thing for non-Indigenous people is to understand that they're invited in. It's not their land. The land is not owned, and often in non-Indigenous or Western concepts, land is seen as something that's owned or belongs to somebody or is controlled by somebody. And that's not really our way of working with the land.
As someone with settler heritage, but as someone who actively studies this land, so-called Canada, I think this is integral to my research of the land, that I understand whose land it is, what are the original teachings, and also know where my place is in society and what kind of privilege I bring into any setting, and but also what help I can bring, and knowing where I can help and what I can bring to the table.
Before we can even reconcile ourselves to each other, we need to reconcile ourselves to the land. And so I think when we talk about reconciliation, there's ideas of land back and whatever's happening to restore land back to Indigenous communities. But any kind of involvement in reconciliation of relationship starts with our relationship with the land and then moves up from there.
I think that it's really important that Indigenous youth are making those reconnections back to the land, because we have become so disconnected and far removed from our cultural teachings and the land, especially in an urban setting. We kind of take for granted that Mother Earth is providing us with medicines and food, and I think that it's important as Indigenous people, and I think it's important as all people, that we go back and develop those relationships with the land and on the land.
So I think the land itself helps create the cooperation between people and that spirit of coming together, and that's what it's all about, right? But you're working to really improve something that you're hoping to, you know, it's never going to be the dream, but the dream is always there, right? And if you don't have dreams, then you don't have hope. So that's what's important for young people. Like, yeah, we could do this. Keep thinking every time you think of something to do, right? That's a dream or a hope, and that's a good thing.